The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome everybody. We will be starting the webinar soon. We are just waiting for more attendees to join. Okay, we are starting the webinar. Welcome everybody, and good morning and good afternoon wherever it applicable. My name is Gajendra, and I am working as an integration architect with the Royal Sabre. And today's webinar topic is for migrating from old version of message broker to the newer IBM Integration Bus, which is version 9. So I just want to check I'm audible to everybody first. Okay. So let's start today's webinar. So agenda we are going to discuss today for this webinar. First we will cover our company overview. Then we will have some introduction for the IBM Integration Bus. Then we will talk about the different themes which IBM Integration Bus provides. And then we talk about the component changes, which are the changes in, from earlier version from message broker to the newer version of message broker, which is nothing IBM Integration Bus. Then we talk about the integration scenarios from various supported version from version 6.1, then 7 and 8 to the newer version of IB 9. So hopefully now, are you guys must be able to see my screen now? And then we talk about the behavior changes of the IB 9, and then we talk about the different migration paths and the scenarios. Then what will be our post-migration tasks after we've done the migration? There are some post-migration tasks we will discuss for each and various previous versions. Then we have a demo of our parallel migration, which we try to show you. For a sample message flow from the earlier version of the broker. Then we try to do the show you the parallel migration in the IIB 9. Then after that we have a question and answer round where you can ask your questions and your queries. We will happy to resolve all your queries and happy to answer those basically. So we are moving to the next slide, which is the company overview. So Royal Sabre is basically a US-based company. We are providing cutting-edge services to our most Fortune 500 companies which we are working with, and we are dealing in both public and private sector for providing our IT services. And we have a very skilled set of people working with us, and we the kind of solution we provide, it will give you a very good return on investment, which we do on the IT part. Again, why we like to choose the Royal Sabre basically? Royal Sabre is, we are the winner of the Impact 2003 in a Mobile Innovation Award basically. And apart from that, one of the significant achievement which we are having is basically we are authorized for IBM Smarter Commerce Division to provide solution in the commerce domain basically. So till date, only the 11 IBM partners have achieved that particular status. And we are working from last 10 years, and we have very good set of customer. I would rather say the satisfied customer, which we have provided a solution basically. And our team is really highly skilled, and we provide administration supports, implementation, migration services, IBM certificate trainings, and other things basically. Our presence, if we talk about the presence of the Royal Sabre, we have across the globe. Start with the United States, we have Canada, UK, Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, India, Australia, and the South Africa as well. So you find, this is our global presence. Now comes to the next slide. I will take some time to describe the main services we are providing and what are the different domains we are working in. So if you talk about the Royal Sabre as a company, right, we are providing the technical supports, we are providing the product specific services, though it's a WebSphere software product or other IBM products basically. So we are providing a very good technical services in the product support. And the main domain or we are working basically, we are also providing consulting services. We are also providing development services. And then if somebody is looking for the architecture services, where actually you want to build the architecture or the proposed architecture, and this is the existing architecture. So these services we are also providing. We also provide the maintenance and support services, and along with that we also provide the implementation services basically. As this particular webinar is more concentrated on the integration part, so if you see, earlier to IIB 9, we have WebSphere ESB and Message Broker are the two main enterprise service bus along with the data power. So here we have a very good and a strong integration presence in the market, and we have a very good clientage in the integration domain basically. So now we move to the next slide. We will now talk about, there will be a little bit introduction about the IIB 9, then we talk about the migration things as well. So one of the thing, first, why you want to choose the IBM Integration Bus, for the integration requirement basically, right? So here, we will talk about and we'll spend some time on this deck to understand why IIB 9 and why, what are the new things, the direction part, then we can talk about the detail, what are the new features in the IIB 9 as well. So if you see, the IIB 9 has rapid time to value basically. You can integrate very easily. It can reduce your cost as it's flexible. It has all the Message Broker proven capabilities and the features which already there, and it built on top of the Message Broker basically. And along with that, whatever was missing in the earlier version, the capabilities and other features, it's providing you all of these things in a centralized location, right? So, and also it has a very broad range of protocol support. You can start from HTTP, JML, SOAP. Now it also can talk to the .NET applications as well. And so it supports a very wide range of protocol to integrate or connect with. And along with that, it had very new capabilities, right? It can very easily integrate with your business rule requirement to the ODM or inbuilt decision services. And it also, help you to integrate your BPM solutions basically. Now it's very easy to, get the integrate between the BPM developer and the integration developer. They can easily import the output of the BPM developer into the IB, so that you can design your integration flow very easily. Along with that, it also provides the intelligent workload management, right? That is very new feature in IB 9, and it was long awaited, and it has other features like MQ service discovery, database discoveries, these kind of things IB 9 is also providing. So now move to the next slide, where we will talk about the different IBM integration themes. Here we will talk about the different features or different capabilities which IB 9 is providing in terms of capabilities. So first one, the theme which I like to take here is a rich but the simple. The simplicity is the main criteria here for the IIB 9, because client is always look for a solution or a product which is simple but yet very rich and powerful. So IIB 9 is a mix of both the things. It's very easy to work with, and it also provides you the very rich functionality or the features, right? So that you can easily develop, migrate, and deploy the things in a very quicker manner, basically. So that's the advantage of IIB 9. The next thing which I like to talk about is the adaptability and the self-governance. Here, what do you mean by that? Mean by adaptability is, in market we have a very different technology to which we have to integrate with. It might be from, some of the applications might be from Java domain, some of the application might be from the .NET domain, basically. So the IIB 9 is basically a single product which can easily adapt the technology changes, because it has a wide variety of connected with the technologies, though it's a Java or the .NET. And along with that, it also provides some de facto standards and industry standards, so that there won't be a problem for when you go to the other domain to integrate with. The next theme which I like to talk about is the industry specific and the applicability. Okay, so here the IIB 9 is providing, or in earlier version as well, there are some content pack which provide you the solution for a particular domain. For example, you can take about the healthcare domain and the retail domain. So IIB 9 is providing you some inbuilt, out-of-the-box content pack, so that you can really connect with this kind of different domains and provide a very good solution on top of it. Right. So next theme which I would like to take is a vigorous and the smart. So here, by this mean is it has very good what do you say, the capability and the robustness of the solution which IIB 9 provide, and it also provides you the smartness to the business, so that they can take a decision on time, right? And how IIB enables that, because it has an inbuilt what do you say, the business intelligence components in that, which help the business to take a smart decision on time. And why is it possible? Because it has provide out of the box analytic features and your business tool capability. By using business tool capability and analytic capability of the IIB 9, I mean, it makes your solution very smart. The last theme, which is basically efficient and the scalable. This is one of the important theme of the IIB 9. You know, because message broker has a very proven track, and IIB 9 is built on the message broker, right? So IIB 9 is not again an exception here, right? It has a very efficient, and whatever was missing and felt missing in the previous version of the message broker has been built into the IIB 9, right? And if you talk about the scalability, right? So Microsoft the message broker is very scalable. And IIB 9 is, adding to that, it can very highly scalable in both in the sense it can be scalable vertical and horizontally very well. And if you have that capability of the scalability, it helps your business to invest along with as you grow. I mean, you need to invest in at the beginning of the project. As you grow and as you go along, you see your growth, you see your traffic. Along with that, you can manage, I mean, how you want to scale, right? So it's a very good functionality or the feature of the IIB 9. So now we move to the next DAC, where I would like to talk about, so what are the different cosmetic or the component name change in IIB 9, because it, when you migrate your flows or migrate your resources into the IIB 9, you have to take care of these names, right? So if I start with, if you say the earlier message broker version, the broker was called WebSphere Message Broker. Now it's called IBM Integration Bus. And the same with, if you talk about WebSphere Message Broker Toolkit, now it's known as IBM Integration Toolkit. Same with the Broker Explorer, WebSphere Message Broker Explorer. Now it is called IBM Integration Explorer. And the broker now is known as the integration node, the execution group now known as the integration server, and the broker component are known as the integration bus component, right? If you talk about the message broker project, now it's an integration project. There are other things as well which you can see on the slide. I mean, these are the different names of the component which they are known by now in IIB 9, which you have to take care when you work with the IIB 9 projects basically. Now I'm moving to the next slide where we talk about the characteristics changes in IIB 9. And these are the important things which you have to keep in mind when you're migrating your flows from earlier version of the message broker, right? Because if you don't have these things in mind, if you don't follow these things, that will be very difficult to migrate, or you face some problem when migrating from earlier version of the message broker project. The first thing which I like to talk about here, which is the web user interface. That is one of the capability which is introduced in an earlier version in a message broker and very well used by the developers and the admin guys. Now, if you migrate to the IIB 9, this particular functionality is by default is disabled. It is not enabled basically. And if you want to use this web user interface functionality, you have to make it enable. And the command for making it enable is basically mqsi change property, and you have to provide your broker name and the other option which are listed here, -b web admin and the -o the server, and enabled and v for true basically. You have to use this command to enable the web interface. So one of the new feature is basically the integration registry in the IIB 9, which is a very good and new feature. By using an integration registry, you can use MQ services, database services, and your workload management. That is a very good feature in IIB 9. But by default, on a JetOS, basically this functionality is not enabled. You have to make it enable on a JetOS operating system platform. And you also set the environment variable max mmap area property, which you have to set it, and that's how you can enable your integration registry on the JetOS. Now let's move to the next point, which is basically about subflow and the bar files. So in earlier version of message broker, we can easily develop, we have to develop subflows and the bar files, right? And in the IIB as well, we go with the subflows, but the name was changed. We have to use library for the subflows, and for the comparative purpose, we can compile your subflows or your eSQL resource in a CMF file, .cmf file basically, right? So now, and let's move to the next point, which is a message flow project. Now the message flow projects are known as an integration project. Should not call as a message flow project. Now they are an integration project basically. And that there is some change in the terminology as well. The thumb rule is, if it is your main message flow, right, it will be called as an application. And every other subflow or your resources or your routines or reusable routines will be called as a library. So this is a main change. We have to be, when we work with the IIB 9, you have to keep these things in mind. And one of the important change in IIB 9 is related to the message set, right? So earlier version, we used to model our messages using message set as well. But in IIB 9, message sets are by default disabled, right? If you have message set in your older flows or the project, and you're migrating into the IIB 9 project, message set will be available. They are only readable. You cannot modify them. By default, you can deploy, you can use, your flow can use it, but you cannot modify the message set. But if you really want to modify it, you have to go to the preferences and you have to enable the message set to modify the message set. But the recommended way for modeling your messages in IIB 9 to use the schemas in your application or your integration services or even in libraries. So that is one of the suggested way for modeling your messages in IIB 9. So again, the same is applicable to the message maps. If any of the flows are using mapping maps, and they will be readable. You cannot modify them. So they will work. You can definitely deploy, you can use those flow from after migration. But if you really want to modify any of the map, that is not possible. To modify that, you have to rename the files as from MSG map to .map file. Then only you can modify your maps. Otherwise, it is not possible. So these are the things which we have to keep in our mind when we're working with the IIB 9. So these are the main characteristics changes we have talked about. Now let's move to the next slide, where we talk about the different versions which we can migrate to the IIB 9. So So, and it listed all the versions which we can migrate. For example, we can migrate version 6.1, and then version 7 and version 8 or can be easily migrated to the 9. But there are different scenarios or different ways to migrate 6.1 or version 7 and 8. So if you want to group it out, we can group version 6.1 message broker. There is a little bit different ways we can migrate. We have to keep different things in mind when we're migrating from 6.1. And when we're migrating from version 7 and 8, it's very easy, and I mean, more or less the steps are same for the version 7 and version 8. So we will talk about separately when we're migrating from 7 or 8 to 9, and when we are migrating from 6.1 to 9. We will be, talking about the daily step for the migrating from each of these places. Along with that, we also talk about the two kind of migration, which is the in-place migration, and the second one is a parallel migration. It is possible with the IIB 9. We will talk about this in the later slides, and then next we have talked about the coexistence of the possible coexistence of the IIB 9 resources with the older version, right? So we will see in a later next slides. So I'm moving to the next slide. Okay. Here there are other things as well which we have to take care before migrating. What are the things which we can do, or what are the things which cannot do when we're doing the migration? So if you talk about the message broker version 6.1, right? We can migrate, but for that we have to have FixPex 3 installed for the message broker version 6.1. Otherwise, we cannot migrate. Same with applicable for the rules and the format extender version 6.1. But for the version 7.0 and 8.0, it is, we can easily migrate. There is no requirement to have any particular fixed pack for migration. This is a very easy and straightforward migration for these versions. And what are the things which we cannot migrate, basically? If you talk about from Windows x86 version to Windows x86 64-bit, this particular migration is not possible. Same thing is applicable for the Linux. We cannot migrate the artifact which is built on Linux x86 to x86 64-bit. So these are the things which we have to take care while migrating. Okay, so now we will talk about the migration from either from 7.0 or 8.0. What will be the steps, and those steps are categorized in basically two main groups. One is we talk about the broker components, how we migrate, what are the steps for broker component. Then we will talk about the toolkit component. How we're going to migrate the toolkit component. If we talk about the broker component, the steps, we have listed here the very high level step, and we could talk about each step later in the slides. So first step is basically we have to backup of the resources. Then we have to migrate our WebSphere MQ, the existing version, to the required version, which is 7.5.1 for IIB 9. Then we will talk about the toolkit development resources, how we can migrate for toolkit resources. Then we will talk about the in-place and the parallel migration. And we'll talk about how to migrate the broker which are using Microsoft cluster for high availability. Then we talk about the multi-instance feature, what are the broker having multi-instance feature, what are the things, what are the steps we have to take when we migrating the multi-instance brokers. Now for the same will be applicable for the toolkit component. We will talk about the steps and the things which we have to take care for migrating our message flows, and how to import the earlier version of the resources. So here as our first step before migration is to backup our resources. So if you see this particular slide, we'll talk about what are the things which you have to take care. To start with, is all the ODBC configuration changes which you have done in your broker level or the ODBC NI file. You have to back up those files before you start the migration. Again, if you have done any configuration changes to your broker, you have to back up those things before the migrate. Same will be applicable for ESQL resources, your schema, and the Java artifacts, and your bar files, even your message flows as well. So it's very good habit to have a backup before the migration, right? So now we move to the next slide. Okay, so here the first tab after the backing up, the next tab basically to upgrade or to migrate your the WebSphere MQ to the required version, which is 7.5.1, right? That is we need to do. After that, now we talk about the toolkit resources. What are the things which we need to take care to the toolkit? How we migrate our resources in the flows, toolkit resources basically. So one of the things which IIB V9 toolkit can be easily can coexist with your old toolkit. When I say this, you can install, you can have your the IIB 9 toolkit on the same system where your older toolkit is exists, right? And what benefit it gives you basically, so if you want to migrate your old workspace into the new IIB 9 workspace, what you can easily do, you can go to the IIB 9 toolkit, you can give the same workspace location of your earlier workspace. So when you do that, when you open that workspace in the IIB 9 toolkit, it will automatically migrate or convert all the artifacts into the new toolkit. So that's the only thing which you need to do. And after that, but the thing is that you cannot use those converted artifacts in your older version toolkit. That is not allowed. So once you migrated or converted your message flow to the newer IIB 9 version, you cannot use your old toolkit to modify or use basically to those artifacts. So same with the resources. You can export your resources as a project interchange file, and you can get again imported those resources in the toolkit, and that can be easily migrated in that particular way. But during that resource migration, you need to take care of the flows which is having WSDL and the SCA definitions basically. So sometimes what happens, the error has come for those flows which is having WSDL and SCA definition. So but for those kind of errors, there are quick fixes available. You can right click and apply the quick fixes. Everything will get sorted out after that, and you don't have to worry about those errors basically. So, but you have to take care of these things. So these are this is about your toolkit migration. Now we're moving to the next slide. Okay, so there are some things which you can do or cannot do after importing your toolkit resources. You have to take care of these things basically. As I said earlier, once you have converted or migrated your resources into the newer toolkit, right? You cannot share it with the older toolkit, or you cannot not be usable by the older toolkit. So by saying that, you cannot share your development resources in between both the toolkit basically. Either you do the development, all the development on the old toolkit and then migrate, or you migrate first, then you start doing your development on the newer toolkit. So, but both the things you cannot do in parallel. Or rather, I say it's a mixed development environment is not possible. So whatever resources you have, built in using IIB 9 toolkit, you cannot deploy those resources in the older broker, and the vice versa, right? And again, if you have some user, custom nodes, right, and you migrate, and if you see any error related to the metadata and your plugin identifier, again the quick fixes are available. You can apply the quick fixes to remove those kind of errors. But you have to take care why these. If you see these errors, you have to apply the quick fixes on that, right? Okay. Now we are moving to the next slide, which will talk about the steps which are required for the in-place migration. So if you talk about the in-place migration, it means your both the broker exist on the same machine. That is what the in-place migration, right? So the first step is basically, if you do the in-place migration, it will migrate your all the configuration data along with your queues and registry, right? And by doing to do that, you have to use MQSI migrate component command, right? So when you use this MQSI migrate component command, your old broker configuration data and your database and queries and your registry will get migrated to the newer version of broker. But the detailed steps basically for that is basically you have to install your IIB 9 on the same system but in a different location, right? You have to remove the older broker from the toolkit. Then the next step is basically you have to stop all the channels for the older broker. Then you have to stop the broker. You then again update your ODBC definitions according to the new format of the IIB 9. Then using your command environment, you have to run the MQSI migrate component command. And after that, if you have done any custom changes to your broker, you have to again apply those changes here, and then you can start your IIB 9 broker. So that's how you can do the in-place migration. Let's move to the next slide, which talk about the in-place migration for ZOS system. So the steps are a little bit different, but more or less are same. So you have to install your IIB 9 version on the same machine but on the new location. Then you have to remove your broker from the toolkit domain. Then you have to stop all the channels for your older broker and stop the broker. Then one thing which you need to do, you have to work with your JCL scripts, right? So what you need to do is the older JCL script won't work. So you have to use the version 9 JCL script for the newer version. Then when you have, there is a link also given. You can follow those steps to create a, your V90 JCL script, and you can apply those. Once that step is completed, if you start your broker, now it's an integration node basically. So you can start your integration node on the ZOS. For these are the steps for the migration on ZOS system. Now we move to the next slide. We again talk about basically the in-place migration for multi-sense broker basically. So if our broker has a multi-sense broker, then what will be the steps for migrating or doing the in-place migration? If you take the first step, basically if you install the IIB 9 for each of the nodes, right? Then you have to stop the channels for your old broker, then stop the broker on your standby node. Then after that, you have to stop the broker on active node. Then you have to run the MQSI migrate component command on your active node. Then you have to again do your custom environment setting, what you have done in the older broker, right? And then from your active node, basically you have to issue your MQSI start broker, and then again you have to go to the passive node, and from there itself you have to issue a MQSI start broker for your passive node basically. So these are the steps for multi-sense broker migration, in-place migration. Let's move to the next slide, where we talk about if the broker are using Microsoft clustering for high availability, what will be our in-place migration steps. If you see the steps are more or less same, so but again I like to put them here again. So you have to install your IIB 9 on each location. Then again you have to stop the channels. Then in your configuration file, resource configuration file, you have to bring your broker offline, right? And you have to keep the cluster disk, which is to the primary node, and MQ resource in the primary node, right? So then from your V9 console command, you have to run this MQSI migrate component command with the broker name, and then you have to move to your to the secondary node by from the cluster, Then you have to again run your MQSI migrate component command for the the one option. So that's how you can migrate. Then again you have to do some copy settings, and then if you start your integration node on the primary node, that's how you can migrate do the in-place migration for the Microsoft clustering. Now we will move to the next slide, and we will talk about the parallel migration. Right? Till now we have talked about the in-place migration. Now we talk about the parallel migration. You can do the parallel migration in the same system or on a different system, right? So the difference is basically in parallel migration you have a different broker, right? So that's why we call it parallel migration. So to do that, basically you have to install the IIB V9 on the computer you want to do the parallel migration, and then you have to run the command environment. And if you this time when you're creating the broker, you have to give a new broker name. It should be unique, different from the older one, right? Then after creating the broker, you have to start your broker. Then you have to create your execution groups. The name of the execution might be the same which is the older one, and I believe people want to have the same execution group, so that won't be a problem. Then you deploy your message flows and message set which we are using in the older broker to this. If you deploy it after migration, and they will work perfectly well. But if you need to modify, as I said earlier, you have to do something. You take care something in when you want to modify the things, and we will talk about later as well. Then if you have any property which you have configured or you want to configure on the broker, you do follow that particular step and configure the properties on the newer broker basically. Okay. Now there are now we have talked about the migration from version 7.0 to 8.0 and 8.0 to the version 9. Now we talk about the migration from the version 6.1, message broker 6.1 to IIB 9. Here, because there are lots of changes in between as well, and there is a very much difference from version 6.2 the IIB 9. So if you talk about in version 6.9, we have database, we have configuration managers, broker, manage your pub sub kind of thing. But in IIB 9, there is no database, there is no configuration manager, and the pub sub is managed by MQ, not by the broker. So these are the different things which we have to take care, keep in mind when we are doing the migrations, right? So again, steps almost are the same. If you in a high level, if you talk about, you have to take the backup of your component, your resources, then you have to install your WebSphere MQ and 7.5.1, and then you have to migrate your resources in a toolkit to the toolkit 9.0. And then if you want to go for in-place migration, that's the step which we have talked about, in-place migration, you have to follow those steps. And then start your MQ start command to start your broker. Then we talk about the post-migration task in a later side which you need to perform after starting the broker. One thing here I would like to tell you that if you migrate, if you upgrade your MQ to the 7.5, and if you're doing in-place migration, your old broker won't be able to work with the 7.5, so that will be a problem. So you have to take care of those things. So now we move to the next slide. Again, we will talk about some other steps which we have to take care. So all the ODBC files and the database connections, right? So we have to make them in a format of the IIB 9 format before applying to the IIB 9 broker. Then the things for the ODBC definitions, basically, you have to copy the ODBC.ini in a particular location, and it should be owned by MQM user and MQMK, BRK group. So yeah, these things we have to take care. And you have to again have ODBC INI environment variable to which which actually point to where exactly your ODBC ini file is, and you have to again create another environment variable which is ODBC sysini. So these are the things which we have to take care while migrating from 6.1. Okay, so let's move to the next slide. Okay, so now we talk about the broker component migration. So if you see, we have ACL entries and an older version of which is 6.1, but those things, the security kind of things, are now changed in IIB 9. So if you want to have authorization on your broker components, so for that you have to rethink or you have to redesign your security mechanism which you want to apply on the newer broker. For that, if you see the last bullet, we have given you the link which where you can go and see how you can apply the security on the newer version of the broker. And apart from that, since there is no configuration manager in IIB 9, and we have seen there are lots of commands for related to the configuration manager in version 6.1, and now these commands won't be available, right? So you have to, these commands won't be available and you cannot use them, right? Again, if you want to get your ACL entries from your old broker, you can use your MQSI list ACL entries to know what are my ACL entries, and according to that you can apply those security in the newer broker according to new security mechanism. Now we move to the next slide, and we talk about the parallel migration of the broker 6.1. So again, steps are more or less same. You have to install the Integration Bus V9 on your box. Then you have to give your ODBC definition into the V9 format, and then you go to your command environment, and you have to create your broker there. First you have to create a queue manager, and if you are on the same machine, then you have to give another name. If you are on the another machine, remote machine, you can use the same queue manager name which we are using earlier. And same will go with the broker. If you are on the same machine, you have to give a different name of the broker. If you are on the another remote machine, you have to you can use the same broker name. Then you can start your broker, and you can create your execution group using your integration IBM Integration Explorer or your Toolkit, or even you can use your MQSI create execution group command to create the execution group on your on the box. Then after that you can deploy your flows and your message sets from version 6.1. Message, as I said earlier, message will work. They will be read only. You can easily deploy and use, but you cannot modify that, right? So, and before deploying, you have to migrate. That is one thing you have to keep in your mind, because you have to migrate first your resources in a toolkit. Then only you can deploy. And if you have any configurable properties which you applied in earlier broker, then again you have to repeat that step for the newer broker. Then you might want to delete your older broker, but if this is not mandatory that you have to delete it, but if you want to keep it, you want to keep. Otherwise, you can delete and go for new broker if everything goes well. Then we will perform some post migration tasks, which we'll discuss in the next slides. Now I'm moving to the next things. This is about the restrictions of the coexistence of the V9 resources, right? So as I give you a hint in the earlier slides as well, that as a toolkit can coexist with the older version, right? And if you talk about the integration APIs, which program used to integrate with the message broker or manipulate the message broker resources, the same API program can work with the new integration APIs. It won't be a problem. Then your bar files can be easily deployed without any changes in that. You can directly deploy and use them, your bar files, older bar files. But if you have imported or migrated your resources on Toolkit 9, or you created some resources on Toolkit 9, you cannot deploy those resources on the older version of the broker. That is not permissible. And the source of the project, as I said earlier as well, you cannot mix your development environment, right? You cannot, use, or you can modify your artifacts which is created in IIB Toolkit 9 in the older version of Toolkit. These things you cannot do, and you have to take care of these things when you're working with a newer version of message broker, which is IIB 9. Now I move to the next slide, where we are talking about the migration of the message broker explorer to the integration bus explorer, basically. So if you see, none of the explorer can coexist, right? Yeah, any of the explorer can exist. If you want to go for the IIB 9 explorer, then you have to first uninstall the earlier version of explorer, then you have to install the IIB 9. So that you have to follow those things, right? Now we move to the next slide, which is again related to the explorer migration, right? So the one thing, if you are migrating your explorer for the older version, right, you have to initialize it by using strmqcfg command. Or if it is a new version, then you don't need to give this particular command for initialization. You can simply go strmqcfg -c and -d. -c for the clean and d is for deleting the metadata, basically, right? So or if simply you don't want to use that command, you can move or delete your metadata directly if it is a new installation. After doing this task, you can start your explorer, and you can see the artifacts in your explorer, basically, right? Now I move to the next slide, where we talk about basically the deployable resources, right, which we can deploy on the broker, right? So if you now the message flows are known as an integration projects. So this is again we are iterating the same thing here. So this is the main thing which you have to take care in mind. And I will skip this slide and go to the next slide, where we talk about the post migration, right? The task which we have to keep our mind after migration. Okay, so for ESQL migration, right, the one thing which is important, which is the character encoding, right? And IIB 9 is using character encoding UTF-8. Here the thing is that your operating system should be compatible with your encoding as well. If the operating system encoding is different from the IIB, which IIB is supporting, there will be a problem when you're migrating the ESQL. So you have to keep it, when you choose your operating system, you have to keep these things in mind, right? And again, if you are using some network file systems, right, for doing some kind of FTP or using files, right? So IIB 9 is using network file system version 4, and why it is using 4 is for the supporting the file locking, basically. If the remote system is not supporting the network file system 4, that will be problem for IIB 9 for locking, and it might not work correctly. So you have to keep these things in mind as well. Now, the JMS nodes, basically, there are some changes in a transaction mode, basically. Earlier it was the transaction mode can have 3 values. One is local, global, and none. Now with the newer in IIB 9, it's basically yes and no. So when you migrate, the transaction, if the transaction mode in earlier flows was none, then it will automatically become no. But if it is local or global, there will be a warning message for you. So you have to change its value to yes, basically. That you have to take care after migration, right? Again, okay. So again, if your JMS nodes are required for coordinated transactions, basically, right? So you have to enable it. You have to go to the message flow and you have to enable the coordinated transaction property. So these are the things which you have to take care, you have to do after your migration, right? Now I'd like to move to the demo of the parallel migration basically. So Hamad will present you the demo.
Thank you, Gajendra, for handing over the mic to me and for the nice presentation you had today, which was very informative and also detailed. Hi, folks. My name is Hamad, and I'm working for Royal Cyber in its middleware team. Today, I'm going to show you a small demonstration about how we can convert or migrate a message broker flow into the newly arrived Integration Bus 9. I am actually using WebSphere Message Broker version 7 for developing these flows. On my screen, you can see that there is a small project, actually a flow, which hosts a web service which front desk person, who is working in a bank can use when a customer or a client of the bank comes in or steps in, or anybody who can step in and asks and applies for a loan. That front desk person can take his uh, information like first name, last name, middle name, address, city, zip code, email, and its customer ID, which the front desk guy can get the customer ID, social security number, and the credit rating. Okay, so with this information, filled with this information, this message has sent to the backend system. Then in reply, we will have this information about the customer, stating the name and address and stuff. Then it will, in addition, it will say what is the loan status, what is the loan amount, and what is the approval date, and what is the customer status with the credit rating and customer ID stuff. Okay, let's see. Let's uh, take a let's go on to the another page where where I am using that SOAP UI to test message flows. On the left hand side, I fill in the information: first name John, Wayne, M, address, city, Brunswick, and the code. And with the customer ID, which I over here put that 24,000, and the credit rating. Okay, let's put, for example, I have here 20,001 is the customer ID, and then the credit rating is 300, which the front desk guy gets from putting his social security number into the system and gets this amount of credit rating and the customer ID. When it gets all this information, fill the form and sends it towards the backend, what it happens, it returns with the message that, okay, it's a poor credit, like 300 rating is a poor credit, and you can only get up to $5,000. It depends upon how long the customer is with the bank. The additional with the time and date of the approval. So, and additional information that is that shows you are our customer since 2004, and you are our platinum customer. Okay. Similarly, if the customer had the credit rating of 600 and the customer ID, for example, a different customer ID, And if I hit it, okay, the loan status changes to good credit, from poor credit to good credit, and loan amount changes from $5,000 to $20,000. Timestamp changed, and then also the customer status information. You are our customer since 2007. You are our gold customer. On the other hand, if I change the credit rating, for example, to 750, which is a good credit rating, excellent credit rating, so the message returns, oh, you have excellent credit rating and you can have loan amount from $20,000 to $100,000. Okay. Now let's go back to WebSphere Message Broker Toolkit and export the whole project. Okay, when you export it, you go here, this pop-up box opens, and you select project from other, you select other and project interchange, then go to next, then select what you want to select, which project you want to export or migrate. You can select by clicking each, or you can, if you want to select all, press the button select all, and then choose the folder where you want to export it, and click save and finish. Okay, now project is exported as a PIF file. Let's go back to the integration designer. As you can see here, this is the IBM integration, actually IBM Integration Toolkit, IBM Integration Bus Toolkit version 9, as you can see from here. Okay, a project is also open. Let's choose a new workspace. Let's say other, and click OK. Let's wait for the Integration Bus Toolkit to open again with the new workspace setup. It is open now. You can see this welcome message, and you can just click the cross button and close it. Now what you have to do, this is the Integration Bus 9 Toolkit, and this is the integration development perspective. Over here you can go click File, Import, and click Other, where we can choose what kind of project it is to be imported. As we know that Integration Bus 9 has the capability of migrating WebSphere Message Broker flows and also WebSphere ESP mediation modules into it. So you have two different options here which you want to choose. So the flow actually is for Message Broker 7. So we change project interchange, click next, and browse where the flow was exported, pick up the flow, open it, click finish, and now you can see the complete project and the resources are imported in under independent resources. Now you have here two options. The first option is that you can compile and deploy the same message flow as it is on any execution group, and it will run fine, right? But this complete project will be, actually the message set and the message maps were all in only read-only mode. You cannot change, you cannot, modify anything. Now, if you want to modify, if you want to, develop further in future and enhance the flows, then you have to convert complete message broker flows into integration projects. Now how we do that? Click on the independent resources, right click, say convert to applications and libraries, and click next over here and then finish. Now you see that all the message sets and the message flow, the message sets are converted into the library and the message flow is converted into application. Now as you can see here, loan approval application, this is the application over here where you can find the flow, and then you have the libraries loan approval message set where you can have the message set and the message definition, right? So the next step is to open the flow, or not yet, don't open it. Go to the maps over here and you can see that there are two maps over here. One is the mapping .msg.map, one is, the other is the data insert. So you have to convert these, you have to convert the MSG map into .map. So over here there is an option, it's called convert message map from .msg map to .map. Click here and say close, and then again pick up the other map, close. So now you see that there are two new maps are created over here for us, which we can open and amend and do changes. But by converting these map, you see that there's a red cross sign comes on the message flow. If you click the message flow, it gets open. You can see that the mapping node has an error. Now, what we have to do here, we have to go pick up the transformation and place the new mapping node, delete the older mapping node, and then connect and reconnect all these connections and press save. Save. Now again you can see that in the new mapping you have a red cross sign. Click the mapping, go to the properties, and where it shows mapping routine, browse and pick up the new map that has the .map extension and choose that and press save. Now you see that that error has vanished. The next step is to compile or to build a new bar file so you can deploy it. Let's say IIB 9 demo bar file. Click finish and then choose the application that needs to be built and compile it. Now you can see the bar file has been created. You have to deploy this bar file onto any execution group you want. Okay, now we can test it. Go into the input node, SOAP input, and right click there and say test. Okay, now you can see that you can put the credit rating and the customer and the social security number, any number you can put, and the customer ID, for example 20,000, sorry, and then press the run button, choose the execution group and press finish. A message comes in. The selected flow cannot be added to the bar file without compilation. So it needs to compile the message flow. Edit to, say yes. Oh, as you can see, we have an error over here. I have converted the message flow into Integration Bus 9 message flow, Integration 9 project. So the message flow has been converted and migrated into integration project. And when I tested it, it failed. So when you go into read the message, why it failed, so there is something wrong with the mapping. Let's see what happens. What went wrong is that I have an if condition here into the map where customer ID is string, and I am comparing that string. The condition says $customer ID less than 2000. Okay, so now customer ID is string here, which was okay in WebSphere Message Broker version 7, but it didn't work in didn't work in IBM Integration Bus 9. So what we need to do is to open the message definition and open the input message and change the customer ID from string to integer. As in Integration Bus 9, we cannot compare strings to integers. I mean, string cannot be, put in comparison operations. Similarly, if I change the input message, I need to change the output message as well. I go to the output message and change the customer ID from string to integer and save all and close everything. Then again open the bar file and build it again. It is built again, and now I want to redeploy it. Not redeploy, let's test it again. Right click, test, and then put the credit rating, customer ID, and the customer social security number, and send the message. Okay, now this time the message went okay. Now let's go to the SOAP UI and test it again. I have a customer, John Shane, the same customer with the credit rating of 600 here. Let's press the button here. Okay, now you can see that the flow the integration project flow is not working fine. Thank you guys. Thank you for sharing your time with us.